Stories are the most powerful thing on earth. They are literally life and death. Wars are waged based on the story of who is the hero and who is the villain. You are the result of a story your parents told each other, the one-night stand, the soulmate, and friends who became so much more. Life and death. So wouldn't you like to understand them better, these stories? How Story Works, an elegant guide to the craft of storytelling by Lani Diane Rich, demystifies stories and helps you understand why you love what you love, why you hate what you hate, and why prologues are almost always a bad idea. How Story Works by Lani Diane Rich. Available on Amazon in ebook, audiobook, and paperback form. Get your copy today.
Welcome to Still Pretty, a Buffy the Vampire Slayer podcast from Chipperish Media. I'm story expert and level 5 witch, Lani Diane Rich.
And I'm film scholar and sweet, lumpy minion, Noelle LaCroix. And we're here today to talk about Checkpoint, the 12th episode of Season 5.
Checkpoint aired on January 23rd, 2001, and was written by Douglas Petrie and Jane Espenson and directed by Nick Mark.
As always, Still Pretty is a fully spoiled Buffy podcast. But just because we all know what's going to happen doesn't mean there won't be surprises. Baby, if that girl's the only thing between me and my key, I don't need much time. Let's go on patrol. In Checkpoint, Giles announces in a Scooby meeting that the Watchers are coming to town with information about Glory. No one is happy about this, least of all Buffy.
Honestly, I really can't handle almost being killed right now.
At Glory's, her minions inform her that the signs of alignment are moving faster than expected, and she's got to get the key from Buffy if her plans are going to work. Meanwhile, Quentin Travers shows up at the magic shop, shuts it down, and says they're going to subject Buffy to a review.
We need to know that this information is safe.
Glory sends a minion to Ben who tells him that Buffy is the Slayer and that Glory wants to know where Buffy lives. He refuses, beats up the minion, and sends him back to Glory all bloody. Back at the Magic Box, the Watchers Council shares their plans with Buffy. They're going to test her fighting, question her methods, and interview her team, and then they will decide if they're going to share what they know about Glory.
But I think your Watcher hasn't reminded you lately of the relative status of the players in our little game.
They threaten to shut down the magic shop and deport Giles, and then interview everyone on the team. They test Buffy on fighting styles she doesn't use, and when she reverts to her own effective fighting style and whoops their asses, she apologizes and goes home to find Glory waiting for her.
Long day, sweetie?
Glory wants her key and threatens to kill Dawn, Buffy's mom, and all of her friends while making Buffy watch if she doesn't hand over the key. Buffy brings Joyce and Dawn to Spike so he can protect them.
I don't think I need to remind you, but...
Yeah, anything happens to him, I'll stake you good and proper. Sing me a new one sometime, eh? That bit's gone stale.
Buffy rushes to get to the magic box to meet with the council, but on her way in, she's attacked by 3 knights in medieval garb. She presumes they work for Glory, but as it turns out...
So long as you protect the key, the Brotherhood will never stop until we destroy it and you.
Buffy lets the guy go and goes into the magic box where the council is waiting to tell her whether she's passed their tests or not. Instead, she comes to realize something. She has the power here. Glory could have killed her, but didn't, because she needs something from Buffy. So do the Watchers. She tells them how it's going to be. They're going to give Buffy their information, they're going to rehire Giles and pay him retroactively since the time of his dismissal, and then they're going to go away until they have more information for her. They agree. She sits down and asks what they know about Glory.
What is she?
She's a god.
Oh.
All right, Noelle, so here we are at Checkpoint, and I have to say, this has always kind of been one of my favorite episodes, so I'm going to put that out there right at the beginning. Not that you would ever be shy about disagreeing with me if you hated it, but I'm really curious to know, what did you think about Checkpoint?
I don't hate it. I actually really like it.
Good.
there are a lot of things I really, really like about it. And we're going to get into all of them, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think we probably will.
Yeah.
One of the first things, though, that I wanted to talk about with Checkpoint is that this is one of the, I think, the first places where we really dig deep into this whole idea of it's about power, which is something that we're going to revisit again in season 7 with Buffy actually saying it's about power. That's the opening salvo of the 7th season. But right now, we're really getting into this kind of direct looking at the fact that Buffy as a show is in many ways an examination of power and patriarchal power specifically. While the patriarchy seems to be just about the power of men over women, it's really more complicated than that. It's about a particular kind of power that men tend to accumulate and the methods that they use to grab it. So a woman's womanness or any not a man's not a manness doesn't mean that they can't be active and contributing members of the patriarchy. And as we all know, white women are typically the handmaidens of the patriarchy because the power of the patriarchy pairs really well with white supremacy. It's like red wine and beef. And we have typically chosen, we as white women, to be submissive to the patriarchy if it protects our whiteness and will do our bidding when what we want doesn't conflict with what it wants. And if there are any white women out there listening who are offended or who take issue with that idea, then welcome, you must be new here. Back to my point, the fact that a woman is present on the side of the patriarchy or engaging in patriarchal methods of power accumulation does not make it not the patriarchy. So when we see women, people of color involved in the Watchers Council, that does not make it any less the white male, power structure that it is. And here, the Watchers are absolutely representative of classic patriarchal power. I mean, yes, there's a woman present on their side, but that doesn't make them not the patriarchy. So the fact that Xander and Giles are working in this particular moment against those patriarchal forces doesn't mean that Buffy's side is also patriarchal just because there's men there. It has nothing to do with the people who are moving. It has to do with the kind of methods of power that the patriarchy has. I mean, would you agree with that? Not really?
Well, no, it's such a...
It's complicated.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
It's complicated, and the thing that I continue to fall back on always is a writer's room put this together.
Yes.
So,
you can't forget that this is written.
Yeah. So this is, this is a product of a writer's room writing and everything that entails. And I think if you wanted to do a really complicated breakdown of patriarchal structures within the world of the show and the relationship between the Slayer and her Watcher and then the Watcher and the Watcher's Council, it's really... That's longer than we have
necessarily time for. No, but I guess the point that I'm making is that there is the patriarchy, but it's not just men who participate in the patriarchy.
No, it's not just because
not
the
men
patriarchy
who fight it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the patriarchy isn't men. It's a system of oppression
that is built to benefit men.
Right. But it's not... I mean, the Watchers Council themselves kind of are the patriarchy. If we embodied,
if
much
we
an
wanted
embodiment
to, of the patriarchy.
Yes, if we wanted to take structures, oppressive structures, and make them into people, that is what the Watchers Council is, and I think we see that here more clearly than we probably ever have. I mean, Helpless
with the exception of maybe
sucked.
Helpless.
I was going to say, Helpless sucks. When you're like, oh, this is not only is this deliberate, but it's systematic and pervasive and very effective.
Right.
But yeah, the Watchers Council just sucks. That's
and you get Travers' whole, the Watchers Council remains, but the Slayers change. Which, by the way, fuck you, Travers.
Which true, but also gross.
But also because you are treating the Slayers as though they are expendable and disposable and all of that, and so there's so much to unpack in that. But I mean, the general structures, are fluid, and how we use them and fight them is also fluid. It doesn't mean, they or any of our women won't fall into patriarchal power structures. That's all there. And Glory, actually, I kind of thought, as I was thinking about this, I'm like, Glory, is clearly presenting female, right? But she's engaging, I think, in patriarchal forms of power grabbing, right? Like one of the classic forms of patriarchal power grabbing comes from gaslighting, right? Turning a victim against themselves, making them believe they have no power, so they succumb to yours, And the reason for this, of course, is that keeping everyone under your thumb through physical violence and domination, uses a lot of resources. It's fucking exhausting, right? So the patriarchy learned long ago that if you get into people's hearts and minds, you can get them to control themselves through cultural forces, storytelling, and especially religious power structures. I mean, why do you think that only men can be priests? That priests can't even get married to women? Because women might have some kind of influence over them, and priests and this religious power of storytelling, right, had been a huge source of power in the past, And I mean, it continues to be, I think, less so now than it was, and, witches, right? Witches are women who have like access to feminine spiritual storytelling, right? And that was so powerful that any woman who dared to push back against the patriarchy was, quote unquote, tried as a witch and killed, like for centuries, right? So when you look at Glory and the way that she uses that intimidation with Buffy, right? You're a bug. I can squash you. You should just give me what I want. All of those things, all of those stories that she's telling Buffy, right? At the same time, Buffy's right. She could kill me, but she didn't. Because she needs me, and then recognizes her own power in that. So so I find that interesting because I think that Glory is, she's got the physical threat, the domination, the gaslighting, all of these like classic, like the 5 fingers of the patriarchy, right? So I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that Glory is, even though presenting as a woman, right, grabbing power the way that a man does? Or the way that male structures do.
The way that men are encouraged to, maybe?
I think she's working from the patriarchy's handbook, right?
Long pause as I contemplate.
I'm interested. I mean, like these are things that I'm just thinking about. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm just kind of like throwing them out there.
I don't read Glory's domination as particularly patriarchal in nature. It's definitely, she's got, to me, she has more of a like a shadow matriarch kind of a thing going. We've already established her as speaking, I mean, she speaks about herself in kind of maternal terms. I want to say it's in the first instance that we see her. She talks about mommy's working. She describes the discomfort that she's going through as birthing. She has a very calm, seductive kind of nature to her domination and control. There's this beautiful moment where she's in Buffy's living room and she's speaking to Buffy. And then just her eyes move over to Dawn. Yeah. And that feels very specifically femme fatale, feminine wiles kind of power to me in this.
Interesting.
In a, I control you in this kind of minutia of the movements of her face and body. She's very precise. Actually, one of the things I love about this episode is that we get to see her be truly menacing.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know that it's a patriarchal power. She definitely engages in a kind of curiarchy, sort of hierarchical master-slave dynamic. Yeah. I guess, I mean, that was a very long way of saying I don't know. I don't think of her evil, her specific flavor of evil as being patriarchal. But maybe it really is just because she is couched in this trope of the femme fatale, the sexy, dangerous woman.
Well, because the femme
who
fatale
is herself a product of patriarchal storytelling. So again, writer's room.
Writer's room. No, but it's interesting though, because she is pulling from the patriarchal handbook with this 1-2 punch of physical domination and gaslighting. And then in order for her to be a femme fatale, though, there has to be a man whose power she is trying to take, because that is the essential, using a woman who uses her sexuality to, take a man's power, to use a man's power to
right.
Fool
she is
a man. Like that's about men.
She is his downfall. Yeah,
exactly. So without a man there, I'm not sure that you can be a femme fatale. I'm so interested. Like all of this, by the way, for everybody who's going to be like, Lani's wrong. I might be. I'm just asking questions. Like I honestly am not sure. This is an idea that I had as I was like going through and thinking about the power structures that are represented in this episode. So all of you guys tear it apart. Like I'm not going to be offended at all. I have no dog in this fight. I'm just kind of interested in this question.
Okay, so I said femme fatale because of how she is styled and how she is
styled that way.
How she's styled, how she like moves through the world of the show. But you're absolutely right that a femme fatale is she's called the femme fatale because she is about a man's downfall. Like she is the reason that he falls. But all right, so what about Ben? What is the Ben-Glory relationship is interesting and problematic in this regard, right? Yeah. Because we know at this point that there's clearly a relationship between them.
There's clearly a connection, right?
There's something there.
Yeah.
I don't know. But what...
Yeah.
You're right.
I know, right?
Right. Like she can't really be a femme fatale. And I don't think she truly is one because she doesn't use her sexuality really.
Her sexuality is not a weapon. It is simply an expression.
Yes.
Right?
Which makes
by the way, I think is very cool.
Well, and it makes it that much more troubling in terms of her menace and her villainy. Like, wait a second. Her sexuality just exists. That's not okay.
Right.
Like that's not allowed.
She has no shame about her sexuality. Like, how is this? I know. And that's all patriarchal gaslighting. And that's all back to this whole same fucking structure that's in there that even as you look at it, you are still in it. Right. That's the thing that's fucked about the patriarchal, power structures is that you're still in it. You're still working with it. It is still a part of you. We are all part of it. Because you're raised in it to believe that these are the way things should be. And it takes such an incredible amount of energy and thought to be like, no, that's not right. That's not how this works. It's not how it should work. It's not a correct way. Then to throw another wrench in the works here, we've got the Knights of Byzantium, right?
Oh, which God.
Is, by the way, ridiculous. This whole these knights in this medieval garb, bringing chainmail to a vampire fight. I don't even know what the hell that's all about. But these guys are the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of thing. They would ostensibly be on Buffy's side. They are anti-glory, right? But what they're willing to do to protect the world, they would kill Dawn. They would kill Buffy. They just want to destroy everything to protect the world, and they don't care whether that's right or wrong. And then
is it protecting the world right though? This is the point where I'm like, hang on. Right. If you're Buffy at this point, why don't you just kill Dawn?
'Cause you can't.
Excuse me. This is
because Dawn is innocent and Buffy is about stopping evil and protecting the innocent. If she kills an innocent to stop evil, then she is no longer Buffy.
But it's not like we haven't had really problematic decisions that have to be made.
Yes. They're just conscious of this
we're
one.
just gonna send. We'll just send anybody to hell on this show. It's fine. We're just gonna,
Yeah, we're just
whatever.
conscious of this one. I mean, but that's the thing. Like, you can't kill Dawn because Dawn is an innocent, and there are things that you cannot do, right? But these guys would. And then we've got the other male-dominated religious order, right? Which are the monks, who had this mystical energy, and they put it in the form of a little girl, like the member of society with like some of the least power, right? And then make her the responsibility of Buffy, a woman, to protect, right? Without consulting them. Without consulting Joyce, which, as you talked about last week, right, results in yet another goddamn mystical pregnancy, or at least the mystical remembrance of pregnancy for Joyce, that Joyce had that experience. So all of this weight is carried by women. Right? And so these are the male orders, the male religious orders on one side and the other, that are on one side putting all of the weight of this problem on women, right? And on the other side, gonna just slash right through the girls to like finish it up, So I just like the whole thing feels at once very clear about what it's trying to say, and again unclear and muddy in these other areas where I'm not really sure exactly what's going on. Like, and then again, it is that constant mental muddle of, here I am trying to look at something while I am inside of it, and that makes it really freaking hard, But then we have Buffy's realization and her speech to the council at the end of Checkpoint, which is one of my favorite moments in all of Buffy. I love this whole speech. I love this whole thing. I'm going to excerpt it here in its completion because we're going to talk about it. But I love it.
There isn't going to be a review.
Sorry?
No review. No interrogation. No questions I can't answer. No hoops. No jumps. No interruptions. See, I've had a lot of people talking at me the last few days. Everyone just lining up to tell me how unimportant I am. And I finally figured out why. Power. I have it. They don't. This bothers them. Glory came to my home today.
Buffy, are you...
Just to talk. She told me I'm a bug, I'm a flea. She could squash me in a second. Only she didn't. She came into my home, and we talked. We had what in her warped brain probably passes for a civilized conversation. Why? Because she needs something from me. Because I have power over her. You guys didn't come all the way from England to determine whether or not I was good enough to be let back in. You came to beg me to let you back in. To give your jobs, your lives, some semblance of meaning.
This is beyond insolence.
I'm fairly certain I said no interruptions.
That was excellent.
You're watchers. Without a slayer, you're pretty much just watching masterpiece theater. You can't stop Glory. You can't do anything with the information you have except maybe publish it in the Everyone Thinks We're Insano's home journal. So here's how it's gonna work. You're gonna tell me everything you know. Then you're gonna go away. You'll contact me if and when you have any further information about Glory. The magic shop will remain open. Mr. Giles will stay here as my official watcher, reinstated at full salary.
Retroactive.
To be paid retroactively from the month he was fired. I will continue my work with the help of my friends.
I don't want a sword thrown at me, but civilians, we're talking about children.
We're talking about 2 very powerful witches and a 1,000-year-old ex-demon.
Willow's a demon?
The boy? No power there.
The boy's clocked more field time than all of you combined. He's part of the unit.
That's why they speak.
I've clocked field time.
Now, you all may be very good at your jobs. The only way we're gonna find out is if you work with me. You can all take your time thinking about that. But I want an answer right now from Quentin. Because I think he's understanding me.
Your terms are acceptable.
Sorry. So we have this whole speech, right? We go through the whole thing, and then at the end, they're all cheering, right? And Tara, who is the primary victim of our last round of patriarchal power grabbing and gaslighting, says, "I'm sorry for making noise." And I'm just at that moment when she does that, I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, this is never gonna end.
It never ends. It never ends. Something I enjoy about that scene so much is the Scoobies as audience in this scene that feels very much like a play. It feels very, I mean, it's a 4-minute scene. Like, it's a big chunk of our television time, and it's mostly Buffy talking. But we've got I love so much that we have our peanut gallery there as witnesses to her experience, but also as a reminder that there is an audience for all of this, the awareness that we're doing something showy here on our show. It's just, it always delights me when the show makes reference to itself in subtle ways and acknowledges its audience by allowing supporting characters to kind of sit in,
be an audience surrogate. Yeah.
It's really it's really, really wonderful. But that moment with Tara, I hadn't quite wrapped my brain around it, but you're exactly right that it's this little it's like, oh, we did it. Oh, actually, we still are working on it.
We still have a long fucking way to go. And this is the thing. How much of it is them looking at the patriarchy and being like, Tara apologizing in this moment, just shines a light on all of this stuff that the battle is not even remotely won, right? Or is it just like, oh, wouldn't it be cute if Tara apologized here because she should, because she's a girl and she actually made a noise? Like, it's so crazy.
It's a lot. There's a lot going on.
I can't even, and the thing is, we could spend seriously all day doing nothing but unpacking the patriarchy in this episode, but there's lots of other stuff to talk about. We probably should for a moment just have the Watchers Council is fucking terrible moment, right?
Okay. I was going to say separate from all of the power structures at play and the implication of, decades, if not centuries of bullshit. But it's not even separate. It's just a microcosm of
all
the centuries of bullshit.
Yes.
Quentin Travers has an assistant who makes him tea, who comes along on this transatlantic trip, but the Slayers don't get paid.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And I super want to know where the Watchers Council money comes from.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have vats of money. They have shitloads of money.
Do. They're fucking loaded.
But
they're the Amazon of the supernatural world, right?
But where? How?
I don't.
Literally how?
I imagine.
Tithing? What? I don't understand.
I imagine they have a thriving cafe press store. I don't know. Honestly, is it donations? Is it trust funds from rich people that then went to take that? And because if you imagine that at some point, through the years, right, the Watchers Council has been funded. And then they took that money and invested in the years. And now they've just got a big permanent fund, Yeah. That's my guess.
It's
because that sounds like a Watchers Council kind of thing to do, right?
Unless it's mystical, unless they're
they have a mystical source of money.
Which wouldn't that be the shittiest though?
So the
that
frat
would be
from Reptile Boy were proto Watchers.
Maybe.
Maybe.
You know
what
know.
I'm saying? Would not shock me.
No.
Would not shock me.
Which makes it, of course, doubly shitty that they're like, yeah, Slayers are just disposable. And you notice that they don't come after Faith. Faith is still out there, not having her spin-off show that I so desperately want. Still.
Yeah.
I love that they come after Buffy, because of course they do.
Of course they do.
Of course they fucking
Buffy
do.
Buffy has the power. Faith does not have the power. They go where the power is because they want to take it, because they're patriarchy. That's just, it's all I have.
A woman with power? What?
We cannot have this.
Oh, she thinks she's
two women with power. The bad guy also is a woman and also has power. No, no, no. We won't interfere with Adam or any of that bullshit, but there is a woman with power and we can't have that. Right? Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Well, also, the Watchers Council can't interfere with Adam for story reasons because that's more on the science fiction end of things. And the Watchers Council, they are strictly fantasy. Fantasy only.
Strictly fantasy. Yes, exactly. That does not fall
Old
under
and timey weapons. There's just no
weird
modernity.
Demon robot hybrids do not fall under the aegis of our authority. Yes, exactly.
No.
Exactly.
No, but like a scary god who looks like a cute girl. Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, and this notion that like pass our test and then we'll tell you. I mean, I know that's the whole crux of the whole episode and we're supposed to be like, no, that fucking sucks. You can't do that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But that like, we'll help you save the world or whatever.
Right.
But, you have to prove with, we're going to test your charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent first. Like, what are we going to... Oh, they suck so hard. They suck so hard.
Yes. Yes. By the way, now that you said charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent, just got it. Yeah. Just right now. Just got it.
That's what it is.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. So let's talk a little bit about Glory because Glory is fucking amazing.
You know how much I love Glory.
I know I love Glory too.
I love Glory so much. And when I remember this season, what I remember is Glory, which is, duh, right? Because she's amazing and I love her.
Yeah.
But she hasn't actually in that much of the season, at least so far.
Right.
Which is surprising to me. Like, I remember her being more present, and maybe it's just that she is so huge when she is present.
Right.
But I love that this is the first time that we really get to see her be actually menacing and not just like super strong and throwing Buffy around. She's, oh my God, her surprise appearance at Buffy's house, she seems legitimately scary to me for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
Because she's so relaxed. She's so relaxed, which is one of my favorite things about Glory is when she's totally just like, stronger than humans, whatever. It's great. And she also does a reasonable impression about caring about Dawn's side of the story, which I'm not sure Dawn falls for. But the fact that Glory tries it is oddly chilling, I think, especially because we know what Glory and Dawn don't know about what they are to each other. There's something super creepy about that beyond just the, Glory's in Buffy's living room and she's threatening her, but not actually fighting her. There's something super, super scary about her all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to me that Glory gets to be this creepy, badass, evil monster woman in the same episode where we first see her as a sweaty, shivering mess.
Right. So we get her vulnerability in this episode, and that doesn't at all take away from her menace. Like, that's pretty cool.
It's one of my favorite things about her that we can see her, completely falling apart.
Yeah.
And she's still a threat. She's still a serious threat.
Yeah.
That we take seriously as an audience, that the show takes seriously. It's kind of great.
It is.
And that's another reason that I'm not sure I would lump her in with a kind of patriarchal villainy in the same way that we're used to seeing.
Right.
Because I don't know don't know that that's totally how her power and villainy functions, but
right. I think she's playing from their handbook, though. Like it's a different flavor, but if it's the same handbook, but it's not men doing it, what does that say? I mean, it's a question. Somebody in Discord will talk about it and be way smarter than I am, because I'm just asking. I have no idea. It's just the question. Like, if they're the same methods, is it the same thing depending on the identity of who's doing it? I don't know. But I mean, it's an interesting thing.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing.
Yeah.
And she uses people. I mean, she literally uses people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In a way that I feel like it's interestingly gendered, shall we say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because Jinx and Dreg bring her a mail carrier to eat. Yes. Or drink, as Jinx says. And we're doing another humans as food monster moment, but it's so much cleaner than any eating or drinking of humans we've seen up to this point. In fact, it's only the minions' remarks, saying, "Oh, very good, delicious," that put this in an eating space at all. And I wonder how much that has to do with this feminine presentation that she has taken on. Like, would this moment of draining the mail carrier in a way that really looks, when they're done, like she has used him for sex and is kicking him out of bed? Would it read that way if Glory looked like the mayor? I'm not sure it would.
Interesting question.
I'm not sure it would.
No, I don't think it would.
I'm not sure it would. And I'm sorry. I just love this whole scene. I love the way she screams when she does it, which is both unsettling and so delightful. It's another reason I love Glory, is this kind of involuntary humanness that she has. Like, I get the impression that this isn't really any fun for her. The mayor, see, I keep referencing the mayor because he's my other favorite big bad, but also he has that kind of relaxed power that Glory has.
Yeah.
But the mayor always seemed to be having a lot more fun. Glory does not seem to be having much fun.
No, in the meat sack. Yeah, no, she's not enjoying that. Yeah.
She's not having a good time. And there's something about that I really, really like.
Yeah, she's not having a good time, while at the same time being very into like the feel of the silk. She's into the silk dress, she's into the high heels, she's into the makeup and the hair and the whole thing. And I think it's because she genuinely like appreciates that element, while at the same time being like, this is a stupid fucking meat suit and it cannot hold all my gloriousness, it's interesting.
There are some benefits to being human, but the benefits do not
outweigh the meat sack.
The meat sack. I mean, it is lonely and uncomfortable being in a meat sack. And
I mean, honestly, every time Glory poops, she must be so fucking pissed off, right? I cannot believe I have to do this. This is disgusting.
But I love it. Like, I love her distress at her own current state. I mean, being sucked of cognitive functioning is clearly terrifying on the human end of things.
Yeah.
But it's also really brutal on the god end. And I just want to know everything about that. Like, I just want to know more about what is happening, like what is going on with her. She is a fascinating force of evil.
Yeah.
Especially because of the not quite punchline that I was alluding to earlier, where she's done with this mail carrier and they're sprawled out on the floor. And not only are they like sprawled out on the floor together in this kind of post-coital way, but suddenly she's wearing lipstick and her hair is styled and her dress is steamed.
Maybe all
Tell
of her
me about this
makeup and
magic.
hair
I
is
wanna know.
magic. She's got magic makeup and hair. That makes so much sense because I cannot
want to
see
know.
her doing her makeup every day. Like, I cannot see her engaging in that kind of very human ritual, you know?
I mean, we see
That's
her look
interesting.
in a makeup mirror. I don't remember
We
if it's in
do.
this episode or in the previous episode, but
I think she's just admiring herself, though. isn't she?
she's sort of
not
doing the
doing
like,
it.
oh, I'm
Yeah.
fixing my face thing, but
Right.
it's definitely a performance.
It's affected. Yeah,
almost
no,
for the
that's-
benefit of her minions, which
well, why not? If you
mean-
dance for the audience, you got, right?
I
you
guess.
know? Yeah.
I guess. Also, I just really hope that there's some Buffy superfan out there who has now or has had pets named Jinx and Dreg, because
I know.
aren't they great? Like,
I would-
can't you see
that-
cats
yes.
named Jinx and Dreg?
Jinx and Dreg? Absolutely. Now I got to get 2 more cats, Noelle. Thanks so much.
No, you do not. I'm
do
cutting
not.
you off.
I have way too many cats. I mean,
you are
the
2
thing
cats
is-
away from a stereotype. That's
Oh no, for serious.
Don't do it.
But I mean, the thing is, like, technically, you know, there's one for each of us. My 2 kids each have a cat, and I have a cat. They just all live with me. You know. So
technically, they're not your cats. You're just holding them for a friend. It's fine. You can
Right,
stop anytime you
right.
want.
I can stop anytime I want. Okay, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about Ben.
Okay.
So
Ben.
the other half of Glory, right? As
Right.
we know, because this is a fully spoiled Buffy podcast, as
Right.
we told you before, Ben and Glory share a body. They swap back and forth. But seriously, like, how many floppy hair douchebags does one show actually need? Like, I
is
feel
so
like
floppy
Buffy
hair.
with the floppy hair douchebags is like me with the cats. They just can't resist another one. Right?
Is that just
but
what
we
all men looked like in the early aughts? Did like every white man just have the floppy hair douche?
I would
Was that
say,
a thing?
I would say mid 90s to early aughts. Yeah, I would say there was a lot of floppy hair douchebag going on. We got if you look over at Gilmore Girls, there's a lot of that happening. Yeah, I think it's a thing. But the thing is, like, even though the hair has changed, like, the soul of the floppy hair douchebag remains. I still see them today. The hair may be different, but the absolute essence of the floppy hair douchebag is a persistent archetype.
Don't be
so here
fooled
we-
by that sick fade.
Still floppy hair underneath. All right, so we have Ben, right? And he refuses to help
Yes.
Glory. So there is that, but he also ordered Quellers to kill Glory's victims, and I have not forgiven that, so still a prick. Beats the hell out of this minion, which, by the way, like, okay, the minions are doing Glory's bidding, right?
Yeah.
So they are evil. Like, you know, they are tangential to evil, you know.
Right.
But they're still, like, you know, minions. Like, they're still not the ones, like, in power. So why does Ben have to beat the shit out of this guy rather than just say, tell Glory no?
I don't know.
'Cause
Literally.
Ben's an asshole is actually, I think, the answer to that question. What is Ben's an asshole for 200, Alex? Like, what is...
I actually enjoy Ben in this one scene he gets. The "don't touch me, you're crusty" line is so great. But
yes.
I don't understand what the hell is going on with the structures of control and servitude in the Glory Ben minion
Yeah.
situation.
Power triangle, whatever
what's
that
going
is.
on?
Yes.
What is going on? Like, she tells the minions, you know, don't wait so long next time because she's, you know, suffering. But she runs her own errands to the magic box to get supplies. And then, go get the Slayer's address from Ben? What? How? Who? I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, it makes no sense. It makes no sense to me. And I think maybe it's not supposed to make sense because we are putting all of these bits and pieces into place with Ben is Glory, Glory is Ben.
Right.
But I don't know. Why does Ben have to beat up the minion? Because he can? Because he wants an excuse to beat up the minion?
Because he's got rage issues is why. I mean, The minion is just there, like, delivering a message, right? Like, I understand he's a minion. I understand he's, like, a handmaiden to evil. Like, I get it. But at the same time, like, he's not in power. Like, he doesn't have the power to make his own decisions. The minion seems like he's pretty much stuck where he is. So he's got to do what he has to in order to, like, survive to the next day. And just doing his job. Dude's doing his job, right? I mean, like, so, like, I get it. But at the same time, like, beating the hell out of him, beating the hell out of my sweet lumpy minion. Like, yeah, it seems unnecessarily mean, and also without an end to it. Like, it's not like beating up this minion created an outcome specifically that required the beating of this minion, right? The sending him back bloody with the message and sending him back regular with the message, same outcome, right? Doesn't make a difference. So Ben knows this. So the only reason why he beats up this guy is because he can.
Yeah.
And I think that makes Ben a particular brand of asshole. That's my argument.
I mean, it's not an argument without merit. Like, mostly, I'm just still so confused and don't know what to do with the whole.
Nobody cares about Ben. Nobody cares about Ben. And as we move forward in this season, we're going to have mild flirtation with Buffy and Ben, and it's going to be super fucking gross. It's going to be worse than Parker Abrams' Scott Hope. Like, that is how bad it is. But we're going to do it because he's floppy haired. I don't know.
Well, but that's also why he has to be kind of a lot of a dick, is that, I mean, he is, as Glory says, well, of course he's attractive. Like, he's a cute guy on a TV show. Like, of course someone is going to be on the Ben Buffy ship, and we have to make sure that, like, no, just up front, like,
that's true. That's true. There would be a huge Ben Buffy ship, especially after Riley leaves, right? Replace one floppy-haired douchebag with another. And at least they didn't do that. At least they didn't make him an actual, real, like, romantic prospect for Buffy. So at least there's that. All right. So we've been talking about men and, like, how terrible men are. And so I just want to take a moment and say, the men out there, like, I'm sure you're fine. But they've got these professors, right? I'm
sure you're all very good boys.
If you listen to this podcast, you're probably, okay, or at least on the path to okay. Like, I mean, I think that the people who listen to this podcast are like the best people. So
you tolerate us howling and cackling.
You tolerate
and
all of our stuff. You're probably all right. But this professor is a fucking asshole. Now, also, like, is there somebody in Buffy or on the writing staff went to college and just had a terrible experience? Because every professor is a fucking asshole. Like, I teach college classes, and never in a million years, if a kid came to me with critical thinking, would I not be thrilled. Yes, let's talk about that. That is a really interesting idea. Let's talk about how weird it is that Rasputin would not die and maybe was a vampire. Let's talk about that. Like, but this guy is such a dick. And here she is standing up. She's asking these questions, which, by the way, I think are like really interesting and super legitimate questions, considering that the world here has supernatural beings in it. Like, that's her experience. So I love the whole thing. But also, once again, here we have a woman asking a question, being belittled when she's fucking right. Drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just Professor Asshat making no effort. Like, it's not your student's job to be, like, thrilled by everything that comes out of your mouth. Like, separate from him being a complete and total just douche nozzle. Like, he is the literal worst. I mean, this guy is Watcher's council material. Like, he is so bad.
That is such an insult too. You're Watcher's council material.
He really is, though. No, like, check it out. He really is, because the way that he, I was going to say debates, but it's not even debate. It's berates. The way he berates her is he tells her that they're interested in what actually happened. It's called studying history.
Right.
Is that not like the most white supremacist I can't even. I'm like so
No, it
riled
is
up.
white male cishet bullshit, everything, because who wrote fucking history? Who decided what the truth was about history?
Yeah. This idea that
story.
What actually happened is this one thing that you can point to because
As
you have the
absolute
books that were written by the
Exactly.
white men for the white people, and
Exactly.
that's what counts as history.
Exactly.
This guy.
I know. Like, honestly, for such a stupid short scene, right? The rage that it inspired on so many different levels. But a big part of it is, as our friend Dr. Kelly Jones would say, like, bad fucking pedagogy, right?
Pedagogy.
That is not how you teach. Like, the thing is that the students have to be the one thing that kids need to learn now. And I'm talking from age, like, 5 up, like when they go to school, is critical thinking. We can look up facts on anything. We've got all of human knowledge in our fucking pockets. People need to learn how to think critically and question. But the thing is that the power structures don't want anybody thinking critically. They don't want anybody questioning. And since they can't just call you a witch and burn you at a stake anymore, they've got to do this shit, right? You know, and it drives me crazy. And it's also not teaching. Teaching, like real teaching, engages with questions and asks those questions and encourages those questions, even when you as a teacher cannot answer the question. You know, you can at least engage with it and talk about it, you know?
This is how I know I'm old, by the way.
Yeah.
That I'm watching movies and TV shows, and I'm like, these teachers are the worst. They're doing a bad job at teaching, as opposed to teachers are the worst. Or even better, you know, the parents really have a point.
Exactly.
That's how I know.
It's this middle-aged viewpoint, right? Like I picked that up in like my mid-30s. The sudden like empathizing with the middle-aged characters in these shows who are not having their voices heard.
Listen to your mother, Buffy.
Listen
Come on.
to your mother for once, right? So speaking of Buffy's mother, I ship Spike and Joyce, and I ship them hard, and I love this relationship so much. I love them bonding over passions. And then we get such a little bit of dialogue about it, but we get 2 things. Do you think Timmy's really dead? Oh, no, they can just sew him back together, right? You know, I mean, first of all, kind of a Buffy bot reference, but also a reference to what's going to happen at the beginning of season 6 when we bring Buffy back from the dead. And she is sewn together poorly, and it takes a while to work all of that out. Then we have this where Joyce says, what about the wedding? There's no way they're going to go through with that. And I'm thinking, hell's bells, anyone? Like, it feels like they just, you know, filled this dialogue and specifically had that in there so they could like tease what was going to happen without it being like obvious at all. I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool. But I also really love the way that Spike is all about the cash until he sees that Buffy really needs him, and you see the click in his expression where it just changes and he's like, all right. You know, I fucking love that, and I can't help it. I love Spike. I know he's a problem. Don't at me. I know.
Okay, so speaking of Spike being a problem, well, maybe it's not a problem, but there's a great bit of visual Spike is a creeper that happens when Buffy comes to him in the scene where it's that scene. She has just come to him. We're looking at her. Behind her in the background, his Buffy mannequin is supine and chained to a chair.
No. Oh,
yes.
no.
Oh, yes.
I have never seen that in all my years of watching it. And oh, no. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Also, like, on the one hand, perfect. Chef's kiss, perfect. On the other hand, oh, God.
Right?
Why am I so in love with this man? It's so bad.
Well, because it's so bad. I think that I have talked about this in my personal life, The
Yes.
difference between fantasizing about something and actually doing something.
The actual experience versus the fantasy. Very
You don't
different.
actually want a Spike. But
No.
Spike on the show is great. And this is why fiction is great.
Yes, but you have to be able to separate out the fiction from the reality, which is the thing. And sometimes that can be difficult to do. And that's why a character like Spike and a lot of these characters of these dark men, I believe Penn Badgley's character in You, I haven't watched it, but I've heard about that, that there are characters that are just truly, truly, truly terrible. And yet we ship them, and being unable to put the line between the fantasy and the reality. You got to be able to separate those out. That's a huge skill set, is separating that out.
So is the Spike and Joyce ship a romantic ship, or do you just want them to like hang out and watch shows together?
Mostly I want them to hang out and watch shows together and make the hot chocolate with the tiny marshmallows. At the same time, now that I'm in my identifying with the woman phase, like with the middle-aged people phase, I'm like, you know what? Joyce is about to take a trip to the great beyond. Get it, girl? Like, have some fun. I'm telling you, I know Spike is awful, but I will bet the house that he is amazing in bed. And Joyce deserves that. You know what I mean? All right, so let's talk a little bit about Tara.
Yes,
because Tara's amazing.
I love Tara.
Right?
I love Tara. I love Willow and Tara talking about their relationship while being
what is it?
Interviewed.
We're lesbian, gay type lovers.
Yes. Yes. Oh God. No, I meant your relationship with the Slayer.
Oh. Yeah,
really
just
good
friends.
Just friends. Just friends.
It's so sweet.
God.
I love Tara. We're having this recurrent joke with Tara too, with Giles, where like every week she says something insulting about his Englishness and then starts to, and the thing that I think I love about it the most is that Giles is the, you know, like the British white man, right? The classic colonizer, you know? And Tara gets so awkward when she realizes she's in the middle of saying something that might be insulting to him, you know?
I love that she still calls him Mr. Giles.
Mr. Giles.
I love that she has this very skewed view of English people.
Yes.
She's like, but they're English. I thought English people were gentler than
normal
regular
people. And then she just trails off.
She's definitely, it plays into Tara's own special worldview.
Right.
And we've lost that a little bit as she's gotten to be more a part of the group.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tara's awkwardness, Tara saying the wrong thing or not quite the right thing.
Yeah.
And we've sort of folded it into her relationship to Giles and getting caught up getting caught up on everything with the Watchers.
Yeah.
Because then of course Buffy comes back with like, what is it? She's like, they're like Giles's. And Buffy's like, yes, they're terrible, or whatever it is she says. Right. It's like, hang on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, like Giles for all of it, and you know how much I love Giles. You know how much I love Giles, right? But Giles does represent and often sometimes expresses
Giles
things that are, you know, a real problem.
I think the joke continues to be
Tara's awkward.
Tara is awkward.
Right.
I think that, you know,
coming
like
out
her,
in this one particular way, her
like
presumptions
her sorry
about
at
being
the
British.
End.
Yeah, the sorry.
I don't think that that's meant to be. I don't
that's
know
not,
that is.
Yeah, it's not
meant
commentary.
to be anything. But
no,
also,
it's just
writer's room.
Writer's room. There's just something funny about it that I just kind of really, really enjoyed. I also really enjoyed Giles' relationship with Buffy in this. They have been building this up over time.
Yep.
You know, but they're finally a team. You know, it's not that Giles is in charge and he tells Buffy what to do. It hasn't really been that way for a while, you know, since he quit the Watchers, you know, and he was looking for kind of his place, his identity, you know, his role in the team. But there was always this Giles is the adult and Buffy is the kid. And they weren't equals. Now they're truly a team of equals, you know, and he is not her commander. He is not her boss. He's working as a support person, the actual way that Watchers, you know, should work. She gets him his job back and retroactive pay. Like, I love that. And then when she says to him, they picked the perfect thing. I can't lose you. Right. That relationship, I just love. And I love the tenderness in his eyes when he says, thank you, you know, like what that means to him. I love this relationship. It has been, you know, it started out as boss and employee and morphed into father-daughter. And now it feels so much more equal, so much more a team of equals who love each other as family, but they're equals. And I love it.
It's definitely taken on the Chosen family feel. I love it when they're sitting in the dark and it's just the two of them. And they're having this very real conversation. And she says about the Watchers Council, they're going to expect me to be a slayer and I'm just me. Yeah. And that, for me, was the first time that the Buffy feels at odds with the slayer role. Really affected me. And I think it's the way she says it to Giles. I think it's that she says it to Giles in this moment, and that because they have built up this relationship where they are a team, she is able to articulate to him that there's being a slayer, which she's called to do, and then there's being a slayer in the way that the Watchers Council demands that she be a slayer, that she pass all these tests and know all of these things and have all of this, you know, have like read the handbook or whatever it was that Kendra was all about. Like
the handbook.
Buffy is not, but not only can Buffy not do that, but she's never going to do that. And the way that she's able to acknowledge that with Giles in this moment, in this really quiet, simple conversation that they're having is so fantastic. It's so fantastic.
It's so good. I love this whole thing. I love this relationship, and it just gets better, I think, as we go. Okay, so there was something in your notes that I took out and put at the very end because it delighted me so much to my soul that I was like, this is a good thing to sort of start winding down the podcast on. And it is a section just simply titled, Tell Me More.
Just like, okay, this happens from time to time with me and fiction. This show in particular, I will glom onto something and I need to know everything. This girl that Giles is waiting on when the Watchers arrive, where is her spin-off show? Witchy goth girl with the baby bangs who's turning someone into a badger? I mean, I need to know everything. Is that a whole badger turning book? Who is she turning into a badger and why? And if it's a revenge kind of thing, bad idea because badgers are tough. Is she building an army of badger familiars? Like,
I love that. An army of badger familiars. That is awesome. Yes.
What? I mean, and badgers, we know if we've seen The Fantastic Mr. Fox, which is a documentary. No, it's not. Badgers are demolitions experts.
There you go.
You know, it could be anything.
Yeah.
But I just like, she's so funny in the way she just kind of, she has no lines, but she exchanges these like knowing looks with Giles and even Quentin when he's like, oh, to her, wouldn't want to turn the wrong person into a badger. You know, like, she's cool with, I don't know. I need to know everything about this girl, her story, her badger magic. I want to know everything.
Yeah.
And then possibly my favorite moment in the episode, it's definitely like in my top 3 favorite moments of the episode. Lydia wrote her thesis on Spike.
Isn't it wonderful? I love that
It's so
moment.
adorable. Oh my God.
Love
And
that
she's
moment.
I love, first of all, that it's 3 Watchers and they have him at like, not only crossbow point, but also crucifix point, just in case he tries anything. But she's fangirling over him. And of course, he loves it because he lives He lives for the fame and the attention. So funny, so good. But thesis? Is the Watchers Council also a school? That does not bode well, does it? Like, you go and get your degree from the Watchers Council?
Oh, sure. Yeah, you want to have professors yelling at you all the time because you're thinking critically? Yeah, that's where you go.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. It's terrible. All right, Noelle, what are you wearing?
Buffy's puffy teddy bear coat thing. What? She looks like she's in a sleeping bag. I don't understand. I think it was fashion in the early aughts, but I'm just...
Still
it was distracting.
Sarah Michelle Gellar can make anything look good.
I mean, and if I wanted to get like really symbolic, really deep into the symbolism of everything, I would talk about Glory's backless dress and how she is one thing from one side and one thing from another side. But no, that was also early aughts fashion. But the one clothing choice that I do think is actually a little bit significant is Anya and Xander, when they're being interviewed by the Watchers Council, look like they're going to, I don't know, like Christian premarital counseling. They look so prim. They look so like they ironed for their Watchers Council.
She's from Illinois, where she was born or Indiana, where she was born and raised by a mother and a father.
By both a mother and a father. Oh God, poor Anya. Poor Anya. But when Anya and Xander break out the iron, you know.
Oh, yeah. Like, shit's real. Shit's real.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So what's your girl power moment of the week?
Oh, not with a girl power bit.
I mean, it has to be... We have to give it to that Buffy speech,
the Buffy
right?
speech
like,
with the Watchers. Yeah. Like, I think that's,
She's like, I love no interruptions.
I believe I said no interruptions. And I love it when Lydia says, I don't want a sword thrown at me, but...
Right?
So
oh, my
cute.
God.
So
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah.
I like that. All right. So what's your favorite part?
It's Glory eating the mailman and coming back to life, complete with hair and makeup.
That's pretty good.
I mean, when I have a good, I will have a good meal and I never come out with hair and makeup done. I want this God power. This is the one I want.
That is of all the God powers, of all the superpowers. I just want to be able to
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Of all the superpowers, just flawless hair and makeup all the time.
Flawless.
Are you kidding me?
I think
that's
legit.
So good.
I think that's legit. Absolutely. For me, it's Buffy's speech. I mean, I love that whole ending. I love the way that she takes them down. I love the fact that Quentin Travers is wetting himself as he asks for a scotch. I think that that's fantastic and way past due. So I loved it.
If you enjoyed this conversation and would like to join in, come find us on social media. Lani is at Lani Diane Rich on Twitter, and I am at Noelle Aloud on Instagram, and the hashtag is Still Pretty.
This episode of Still Pretty was brought to you by the Chipperish media producers who support us on Patreon at the power producer level. These people are the reason why Still Pretty is coming to you free and ad-free right now, so thank you to our June producers: Abigail, Alice, Erica, Rose, Jonathan, Kristen, Sarah, and Shelley. And this week's special message for our power producers: I wrote my thesis on you.
To find out how you too can support Chipperish Media, visit patreon.com/chipperish. Other ways to show your support: write a great review on Apple Podcasts, tell your friends about the show, or seduce the Slayer and bang the key out of her.
We will be back next time with Blood Ties, the 13th episode of Season 5. Until then, what level are you at?
5.